Hello everybody, I am so excited. We're starting today 5 days to your best homeschool years. I am so glad you enrolled for this course because honestly, if I had anything available like this 5 years ago, I would have paid like $300 easily just to be able to have all digested for me, everything, like all the shortcuts and the tips and the strategies that will save me so much headache later on. So I'm really, really glad you enrolled. I'm really, really glad you're here. I hope you're all hopping in, because I don't want you to miss anything out of this course. This is like 5 days jam-packed information, content for you. I'm going to be just giving you practical examples of how to do things. But first of all, hey Jessica, welcome. But our day one is focusing on building a strong foundation for our homeschool. And this was my number one mistake. When I decided to homeschool my children, I had no idea what I was doing. And I'm sure you guys know what you're doing much better than I did 5 years ago. But I didn't build a framework for my homeschool. I simply decided to homeschool them, and I bought whatever books I could, and I started just mimicking what the public school did. That's basically how I started to homeschool my children. Well, 3 years later on, I was absolutely burned out. My kids were hating homeschool. I was overwhelmed and burned out and hating what we were doing and how we were doing. Although I knew it, I had such a strong conviction that I wanted to homeschool my children. I had no peace about sending my kids to public school whatsoever. Hi, Sarah. I'm so glad you got my notification in time. And, I had such a strong conviction in my heart that, I wanted to homeschool my children. I had no peace about sending them to public school for a number of reasons that I'm going to talk about it later today. But I had no idea what I was doing and how I was going to do it or why I was doing it. Well, I knew why, but, how in the world am I going to find something to sustain me? And how am I going to build something that is strong enough that it will keep from crumbling down? And that's exactly what happened. 3 years later, my homeschool was like crumbling down because there was no foundation, right? So today we're going to talk about that. I would love to hear your guys' comments, to read your guys' comments. I would love for you to interact as much as you can. Like I said, come with expectations and come with questions. This is a life coaching course, which means that I'm here for you. We're going to be together for 45 to 60 minutes every day this week. And I'm just going to try to unpack as much as I can. But this is a two-way street. And I need to know what you need exactly so I can deliver to you. And if I don't deliver that to you while I'm doing the live sessions, I wanted to comment, message me, email me, and just say, okay, this is the specific thing that I need. And if for some reason you didn't mention or you didn't say anything about it, but this is what I need, and I am gonna help you. Okay, this is my promise to you. My promise is that by the end of this 5 days, I'm gonna help you overcome all your struggles and homeschool your children. And anyway, so I am seeing your comments, which is really exciting. That's very, very exciting. So I'm going to start just asking you guys a few questions. Question number one, what is homeschooling? What is homeschooling? What does being a home educator mean to you? So I want you guys to just type it quickly and tell me your own in your own words, what homeschooling is. Are you ready for that? I'm waiting. Dun, 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 dun. What is homeschooling? It's homeschooling just accomplishing all the grades for the kids every year and academically help them to succeed? What is homeschooling in your own understanding? Because honestly, when I started, I thought that homeschooling was just, do at home what the school does at the school. That was my idea of homeschooling. Do at home exactly the same thing that the school does at the school. And then I found out that homeschooling, it's not doing school at home. Not. Educating your whole child in learning life skills. Excellent, Jessica. That's right. It's educating your whole child, not just his intellect, but the whole child. That's very, very important. This is one of the things that I learned from Charlotte Mason, that, a child is a whole person. And just like God created us like body, mind, soul, spirit, your child has more than just a mind. And you need to, take care of the education, the spiritual education, the emotional side of things, you're parenting as you educate your child. So I want to talk about, first of all, talking about education as parenting. So education happens as learn happens. Every learning process is part of our education. We learn from mistakes. We learn from reading books. We learn from doing things over and over again until we accomplish those things. We are learning. We are constantly learning. We are learning to cook. We are learning, when your baby is born, you teach your kids how to, how to eat, how to walk, how to crawl, how to talk. I mean, that's pretty hard thing to do. So all of those things are part of our education as a whole person. Okay? And education and parenting is also a huge part of our education. Why? Because as we educate our children, we are parenting along the way. We are guiding them. We are leading them. We are, we're pruning them as we go. So we are parenting. We are watching their emotions, and you're going to have days where you have a child who is having a hard day doing math, and that child will begin to cry because he's hurt because he can't pass that math difficulty. What do? You parent the heart of your child. So parenting is a huge part of educating your child. Also, I wanted to think about education as discipleship, because monkey see, monkey do. You are your child's role model. You're not just your child's teacher. So you are educating your child as you do things, as you say things, as you react to things, as you model things on a daily basis for your children. Your children is always looking up to you. Says, well, this is how mommy eats. This is how mommy spends her quiet time. This is how moms organize her drawers. This is how mom keep things clean or not. Your child is watching you 24/7. So whatever you do, whatever you say, it's also part of your children's education at home. It's so important that you mimic to your child what you want them to do. There's that old saying, do what I say, don't do what I do, right? I heard that from my mom like 1,000 times growing up. But the reality is your kids will end up doing what you do and not only what you say. We were just driving around the other day. We went to Fort Langley, I think it was last Sunday, with our children. It was a beautiful sunny day, and on the way back in the car, my kids had my husband's phone, and they decided to make videos. And my youngest one, who was 5, she started a video, and she started saying, Hi, I'm Ariella, and we just came back from Fort Langley now, and we had a lot of fun. And when I grow up, I want to be a blogger like my mom and do videos like my mom do. I was shocked because my 5-year-old is watching me doing my videos at home, and she's mimicking it. And she's saying, I want to be what mommy is. This is so powerful, you guys. If you remember growing up, how much you looked at your parents, everything that they did, everything that they said, and how many times actually you thought to yourself, I want to be just like my mom. I want to be like my dad. Or I don't want to be like my mom. I don't want to be like my dad. This is so important. This is so crucial. So you need to understand that education, it's much more than academic. Education is parenting. Education is discipleship. They are watching you. They are walking with you. They are listening to you. Everything that you do matters. And sometimes we want to mimic what the school does, what the public school does, and just put the teacher's hat on and just tell them what to do. And they're missing a huge part of education. You are not just their teacher. You are their mother. Thus, you have to parent them. You have to guide them. You have to lead them. You know, you're not just their teacher. You are also the person that they look up to, that they follow as an example. So I wanted to look for sources. When we finish this session today, we're going to talk about a lot more things. But when we finish tonight, this session, I wanted to look for different, how do you say? Oh goodness, I wrote this down in different definitions, different definitions of what home education is. But I want you also to define your own definition of home education. What does it mean to you to educate your child at home? So I want to talk about something that it's gonna keep you going. It has to keep you going. But I want to talk about something that is extremely, extremely important to you and to me in every aspect of our lives, which is knowing your why. Knowing the reason of what you do. Why did you start homeschooling your children? When did you start? Why did you start? What made you think about homeschooling your child? I want to hear your answers very quickly. Just comment very quickly. Why did you decide to homeschool your children or your child? I know we all had very different reasons to begin with, or some of them will be similar. Some of them will be just completely different. But there's a reason why we all decided to homeschool our children. I'm going to share with you my why. I remember when my son was 9 months old. We were living in Jerusalem at the time. We lived in Israel for 5 years. And I met a group of homeschool moms. And I was very, very impressed by the way that they were teaching their kids at home. I was very impressed by how they created this group that was very close together. They went places together. They were very creative with different activities that they did together for their children. I loved how they explored things hands-on. They went to the zoo together. They went to the library together. They did like just different things. For Christmas time, I remember one Christmas, we met with this homeschool group. My son was 9 months old, you guys, and I was like following this moms. We went to one of the homeschool moms' apartment, which was a beautiful, beautiful place. And they did a lot of activities together for Christmas. They had Christmas story time. They did crafts together. The kids act up a Christmas play. And, you know, I just watched that and I thought like, oh my goodness, like how cool is was that a mom is going above and beyond the normal, I feed you, I take care of you, I play with you, to I teach you and I show you and we discovered together. I thought like it was like absolutely amazing. So I knew it in my heart back then that I wanted to homeschool my son. Then the second child came in a year later, a few months later, actually. Then the third child came a year and a few months later. So I had like one after the other. We moved 3 countries in 2 years. Things got very busy. I'm a former pastor. I'm still a pastor. But, just got too busy traveling and doing missions. And anyways, so when we finally moved to Canada, I was working full-time as a pastor, and I thought, oh, this is Canada. Maybe, it's a good place for them to go to school and learn French. So I sent my youngest one to school. Jessica is saying to have time with him and watch him grow day in and day out. Absolutely, Jessica. That is a huge reason to homeschool your child. Is to spend as many time as possible with that child, helping them grow and molding and shaping their character and, just parenting their hearts. So when we moved to Canada, I decided this is a good place just to send my son to school. He's going to learn French. It'll be great. I'm working. In my heart, I still wanted to homeschool, but I was working full time as a pastor. And as a pastor, forget about having time off because you really don't have time off. And anyways, that's a whole other story. But I sent my son at this time to a junior kindergarten. And I sent him to a public Catholic school. And I wanted them to have a Christian education. We could never be able to afford a private school. So I thought, maybe sending him to a Catholic public school will be a good thing and, will be great for him. My son did not do well at all at the public school. He was lost. He's very energetic, and his teacher kept just talking to me about how he did not behave. It's not that he didn't behave, but he didn't stop. He is a very busy little guy. I mean, he has an engineering mind. His thing is he needs to be building things. He's very hands-on. He's very creative, but he's very energetic. And she just kept calling my attention. And I felt just something in my heart was just not right. So we allowed him to stay for a whole year. Then, he wasn't really learning anything. I felt like he wasn't progressing. She was constantly complaining about how he didn't stop and he can't focus on anything. I knew there was nothing wrong with my son. I knew it. There was nothing medically wrong with him. And he was just a super busy child. So the second year, we decided to continue. We thought, maybe if we changed the teacher for the senior kindergarten, maybe he's going to do better. And then we found out that it was going to be the same teacher. And still, he wasn't doing anything better at all. He wasn't doing better. She was still complaining about him, and I knew there was nothing wrong with him. He was just busy, and he got excited about seeing all the kids. He wanted to play. I mean, you're in a room where there's so much stimulation going on that it's hard for them to focus. They're 4 years old, or 5 years old, and it's hard for them to focus. Anyway, so my heart was just grieving in a sense, I'm not comfortable with this whole thing. I'm not really at peace. And I think the last drop was actually when we had a ministry coming to our church, and I was aware of the things that were happening with the educational system, especially where we were in Ontario. And this ministry came to our church, which is Creation Ministry, and they shared a lot about what is being taught on the public schools. And my heart sank. When I heard those things, I was like, I don't want my children to learn those things. and to be indoctrinated by those things and to believe that those things are true. So, the whole thing about, teaching evolution instead of creation, or teaching 7 genders to children. And I know some of you might think that, it is okay. But in my heart, I don't want my kids to be confused about who they are and their identity. It's really hard when you come to a 4-year-old or 5-year-old and say, so what are you? Are you a boy? Are you a girl? Are you a transgender? Are you a bisexual? Are you asexual? And all the other ones that I don't even know. Why would you do that to a young child? Why would you do that to, even if they are in 2nd grade or 3rd grade or 4th grade, I still think they are not mature to understand those things. And sure enough, we had an episode one day that it just kind of upset us, because I send my kids, this is what I believe, right? I send my kids out to school to learn math and language arts and geography and history, geometry, all of those things, health, but I really don't send my kids out to learn about sex, or the whole idea also of life creation versus evolution. For me, it's a strong topic, because when they go to school and they learn that there is no God, they're telling them like there is no God and this is what it is. It's going against what I teach my children at home. So this is my why, okay? I'm just explaining to you, this is my why. So in my mind, logically, why would I send my kids to an institution that teaches the opposite of what I teach them at home? It didn't make any sense. So after that weekend, my husband and I, we talked about it and said, you know what? I think the right thing to do is to homeschool our children. And they are young enough that we really don't need to spend 6 hours a day teaching them. They were super young. My son was 5. My middle daughter was 3, and I had a baby. I was still working as a pastor, but between my husband and I, we took turns teaching our children at home. And we loved it. We just loved it. We loved teaching them and spending time with them and, just exploring things with them. But teaching from a Christian perspective, that was very, very important to us. So that was this is a little bit about our whys. And these are the reasons that sustain us today. Why do we teach our children at home? Why don't we send them to a public school? So this is my strong conviction of my whys. Yours are going to be different. So I want you to think about, what are your reasons? Hi, Jessica. I'm so glad you're joining us. We got 2 Jessicas here today. Why did you decide to homeschool your children? Is that because you want to spend more time with them? Is that because you don't think a public school will give them what you can give them at home? My sister-in-law, she's part of this group too. She's not here now, but my sister-in-law, she had kind of the same thing that happened to us with Ben. She had the school like constantly telling her that her son had ADD or ADHD, and they wanted to medicate him. They were just forcing her way to medicate him and like all kinds of different things. We knew it that medically he didn't have anything. And, tired of being pressured by the school for a year, or I think more than a year, like 2 years or 3 years. It was a long time. She decided to take him off school and she decided to homeschool him. He is thriving. He's just, he's doing amazing. Oh, don't worry. Okay, so Natalie's saying, step aside for a moment to deal with an issue. To answer your question about reasons why we homeschool, I chose to do it because even in my senior year of high school, I saw the ramifications of the rapid deterioration of the public school system. The education disparity. Absolutely. Natalie, I think we all know that the public school system is a broken system. The public school system was created during the Industrial Revolution. There was very specific reasons why they create the public school systems that do not apply to our lives today. We don't have the need to send kids all day to institutions so we can go work out, because we're coming out of all of this depression and all of the things that happened back there economically to most, to some of those nations involved. So the need for public school system at that time does not apply for today. The other thing too is that teaching to test is another reason I turn away from public school. Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that quote from Einstein. He said, if you measure your child's ability, if you measure a fish's ability to climb a tree, what was that? If you measure his intelligence by the ability of climbing a tree, then you fail right there, right? Because a fish was not born to climb trees. And our children are all different. And this is something that we need to understand. Our children are individuals. They are different. They have different gifts and different talents, different abilities, different perceptions, different backgrounds, different beliefs. All of those things are part of who they are. So when you send them to an institution where they believe in cookie cutters, where everybody needs to learn the same thing, the same way, then we're failing a bunch of kids who are not the same, does not learn the same, does not process things the same way, right? You're reading a book right now called The Core, and she referred to it as a factory education, pumping them out like modules in a factory. That's such an accurate description. Absolutely. Absolutely. So one big reason why we home educate our children is because we see them as individuals with different needs and different learning languages, learning styles. And we're going to talk about that tomorrow, because tomorrow it's going to be all about identifying those things and really getting to know your homeschooler and yourself. So then you can identify your struggles in your homeschool and fix them. Okay, so that's part of what we're going to talk about tomorrow. So I want you to define what is home educating for you. What is it? How does it look like? What is it? What is your understanding of it? Then I want you to write down. So if you haven't printed out the worksheet that I just shared with you guys, this is going to be your assignment for today, actually. When we finish this section, you're going to sit down. Even if you've been homeschooling for 10 years, honestly, you guys, it will help you so much. You need to build a strong, firm foundation for your homeschool. So later on, it's not going to crumble. And it's not going to crumble easily. So right now, why are you homeschooling? So put all your reasons down. That is so important. That's what keeps me from calling the yellow bus when I have a stressful day. Okay? Just looking back at the reasons why I do what I do. Why do I have to, go through the stress that I go through some days to teach my children or to help them learn something? It's going back to my whys, going back to my reasons. Now, I want you guys to think, okay, not only you understand what home education is, hopefully we all understand what home education is, that we're educating a whole child, a whole person, and it's not just academically. We are taking care, we are teaching them to manage their emotions. We are parenting them. We are discipling them, all of those things, right? Because they were created body, mind, soul, and spirit. So we are taking care of all four of them. We're not neglecting any part of them. That's all part of the education. So then we are knowing our whys. We're knowing why we're doing this. But now I want you to think about it. What are your goals for your homeschool? What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to accomplish? So you're home educating your child. You know why you're doing, but where do you want to go? what do you want to accomplish? So my husband and I, at the beginning of last year, we sat down. It was the first time that we've done that in almost 10 years of marriage. So that was like 8 years into our marriage. That was the first time that actually we went away for a weekend to talk about every area of our lives. We used a awesome resource for that, super cheap. I think it was like, I don't know, maybe $10 we paid for it. We printed out. We went to a hotel and we went through everything. And one of the things that we went through was homeschooling. And we did the exactly same exercise that I'm giving to you guys today. And that's when really I saw my homeschool changing like never before. We chatted about why we homeschooled. We chatted about our goals as a family. As a family, what do we want to accomplish? For us, we want to have a Christ-centered family. So if I want to have a Christ-centered family, I am not going to send them to a Christless institution. Okay? I want it to be a Christ-centered, a gospel-centered family. I want the Word of God to be the foundation of everything that we do as persons, as a family. That's important to me. That was my goal. My goal is that my kids will have a strong Christian education, that they will be gospel minded, that they will be mission minded, that they will have compassion for people, that they will share the love of God with other people, that they will learn to defend their faith even when they go to college, and that people can throw other faiths and other reasons or whatever in front of them, and they know what they believe and why they believe in what they believed. So for us, like, all of those things were very, very important. Part of our goal as a family to homeschool our children. But also identifying that each child is an individual, we sat down and we wrote down goals for each one of our children. Why, how do we see this child flourishing in their gifts and talents and, the things that they were naturally born with? How can we, I'm going to give you just a practical one, okay? My 7-year-old absolutely loves arts and music and dancing and singing. And for us parents to identify this, it helps us to also look forward to setting goals to help her grow in these areas. So for us, we want to enhance the love of arts and music and dance into my 7-year-old. So that is a very important aspect of her homeschooling. That she will, the Bible says, train the child the way that they should go. And even when they're old, they're not going to depart it. So what is the way that they should go? What are they naturally inclined to? So my husband and I, we set goals. Okay, we want to make sure that Hadassah is doing ballet. We want to make sure that she's doing piano. That's very important that she does that. But it's not important that my son does that. Why? Because my 7-year-old son is inclined to engineering and building stuff and math. There's nothing to do with arts. So how can we set goals in our homeschool to help him accomplish the things that he loves to learn? So, we need to make sure that he is in a Lego club, or that he's doing robotics and, things that he's really interested in, that we have plenty of puzzles around that's going to help him with that, that little mathematical engineering mind that he likes to put things together. So that's very important, that you also set goals for each child individually. My 5-year-old daughter, Ariella, is absolutely, she is obsessed, okay? She's just obsessed with everything about the human body. She, at 3 years old, she was already saying she wanted to be a doctor or a vet. So how can, I set goals for our homeschool that will specifically help her to nourish that love that she has for knowing the human body, understanding how the human body works, and being able to develop all this love for science that she has. So it is very important that we also define those goals. Now, I want you to set goals today, but I know that those goals are going to be clearer for you tomorrow, because tomorrow we're going to talk about each child's learning language, okay? So learning style, we're going to talk about that. So maybe those goals are going to become even clearer for you tomorrow. But I want you guys to start just putting things down. What are your goals for each of your children? And it just, make a general set of goals for your homeschool, but make also individual goals for each one of your children. All right. So one of the ways that I believe we have a strong foundation in our homeschool today, and then I neglected to do it for 3 years, was reading books about homeschooling. Really, really great books about homeschooling. Not just any books about homeschooling, but that helped us to build a strong foundation. I'm going to show you guys a few books, and I'm going to share the links later on, but I'm going to share my favorite ones with you guys. So the first one, it's very general and will help any homeschooler at any stage of homeschooling, honestly. Either you're beginning now or you've been homeschooling for a while, but it's this book here, Educating the Wholehearted Child. A lot of what we talked about it today, you will see in this book as well. This is a really thick book. It's a great book. There's tons of practical advice. There's forms that you can copy and use at the end of the book. There's suggestions for books. It talks about different approaches for homeschooling. I mean, there's this is just jam-packed information. It's called Educating the Wholehearted Child. I love this book as well, Jessica. It has been a huge blessing. So my first 3 years, you just start reading resources on homeschooling this year. I've been homeschooling 6 years now, and it's been challenging to me to grow as a teacher. I'm excited about these resources. Natalie, I know we love the Clarksons too. Natalie, I did the same thing. For 3 years, I blindly educated my children at home, or I blindly taught them at home, okay? 3 years ago, when I started reading books about homeschooling, and I start looking for great resources online, and I became part of the homeschoolscopes.tv group, and I start learning from other homeschool moms, it's like all of a sudden I could see. I once was blind, but now I could see. And there was like a different world of homeschooling opening up to us. It was just such a blessing. So as much as you're investing in your child, also invest in yourself as a homeschool mom. Please do that. Invest in yourself. Think about it. We are always giving. We are always teaching. We are always parenting. And we need to get something in return. We need to get something to feel it. So actually we have something to give. So it's so important. So this book has been amazing, amazing for me. Now, I have a few other books here too that I want to mention. But I have one that I read that I don't have a printed copy of, and I have actually an audiobook that I have listened to 2 times, and I'm about to start for the 3rd time. It's called For the Children's Sake. For the Children's Sake. I'm going to share the links with you guys. That book was, I think it was the one that really explained to me what home education really is in a way that I could never understand before. That was just absolutely like life-changing to me. So another one that I'm going to share with you is, if you are a Christian mom, I know you're so going to appreciate this. Even if you're not a Christian mom, honestly, this book has so much to teach you. It's called When You Rise Up. When You Rise Up. It talks about your calling to homeschool, because homeschool is a calling, okay? Homeschool is a calling. No, not all moms are called to homeschool our children, but those who are homeschooling their children are called. And this, for me, was so powerful. So powerful. So that's one of the reasons why we homeschool. I believe that. I come from a Jewish background. And the most important thing in the Jewish faith, and Jesus said also in the Christian faith, is the Shema. You know, hear, Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. But the word goes on saying, and you shall teach them diligently to your children when you rise up, when you walk by the way, when you sit by the house, and when you lie down. And these words which I command you today shall be upon your heart. You know, and we need, as Christian parents, we need to make the word of God the center of everything that we do in our homeschool and outside our homeschool. So this book was a reminder of this covenant homeschooling. You know, this covenantal approach to homeschooling. That God has called me to teach my kids diligently in whatever I do. Whatever I go all the time. So that, for me, this book, it's a very thin book. You can read very, very quickly. Very powerful. I love this book. There are more. Like, this is another one that I got from a friend of mine. Actually, it's called The Heart of Homeschooling. Excellent book to read. The Heart of Homeschooling. I'm going to put this one there on the list as well. Teaching and Living What Really Matters. Teaching and Living What Really Matters. This is such a great book. Oh my goodness. Love it. Now, this is not necessarily a homeschool book, but it's being very powerful. It's called Raising a Modern-Day Joseph. This is an excellent book as well. And I want to remind you guys, as parents, we're not raising children. We are raising adults, okay? There is so much more than the mentality of, I'm just raising children. You know, I think when we think like I'm raising children, I'm thinking like I'm feeding, I'm changing clothes, I'm bathing them, you know. But when you think like I am raising adults, you are educating your child today for who they will be in the future. That's what you are doing, right? Isn't that true? You are educating your children today for who they will become in the future. So if I want my child to be a responsible adult, I need to start teaching him responsibility today. If I want my children to have a love for missions, then I better start teaching them about missions today. You know, everything that you're doing today, it's going to build up who they are going to become in the future. So you're raising adults. You're not raising children. And I wanted to remind this because I know I put this in my notes too and I totally skipped. But I want you guys to think about your goals as you homeschool your children as a reverse engineering. Start with the end in mind. Where do you want to get? And then you think about how am I going to get there? Okay? So let's just say I want my child to be bilingual. Then how do I help my child to be bilingual? Well, I need to teach him a second language. And so to teach him a second language, what am I going to do? What kind of resources am I going to get? Like, how am I going to get there? And then you build the steps up. Okay. So basically that's how like reverse engineering happens, right? It's done. So I am going to show you guys 2 books also that have been such a blessing to me. I don't know if everybody here has heard about Charlotte Mason, but Charlotte Mason was an educator, British educator in the 1800s. And I'm telling you, that woman just had so much wisdom when it came to education. And I joke that she was so well knowledgeable about educating children as a teacher, but she was a very she was a great observer. but I laugh that she had so much time to observe and learn about children's education because she didn't have kids herself. So she wasn't busy like we were busy today, educating our children and taking care of everything else. But I've learned so much from Charlotte Mason. I am not the kind of homeschool mom that is 100% Charlotte Mason follower. I would love to be. I always say, like, I'm a Charlotte Masoner, want to be. But I've learned a lot and a lot of great stuff. So I'm going to show you guys 2 books that have helped me. This is called The Charlotte Mason Companion. So this is like everything digested to you of her, her main philosophy of education, the main points of her philosophy of education, and it has like very practical ways how you can apply to your school. She explains like very interesting things. She believed in you educating a child as a person, as a whole, and she talks about habit training. Habit training has been huge in our homeschool, and we're going to talk about that later on in another session. But, understanding the natural will of a child and helping to teach them to create good habits, like the habits of, yeah, me too. I would love to be a Charlotte Mason purist, right? But I am not yet. But she talked about, okay, sorry, I just lose my train of thought for a second. But for example, Charlotte Mason's way of training, of habit training, okay, of adding habit training to your homeschool has taught me and my children to understand what paying attention is, or how to be, how to keep things in order. Like simple things like that, That's another, I have to show you guys another resource when we talk about that. But it made a huge difference. The moment that I taught my kids how to pay attention and what did it means, which is putting the full force of your mind into what you have in your hands, things have changed. The habit of perfect execution. When we studied the habit of perfect execution, my kids all of a sudden got it that even if I'm just going to write a sentence, I'm going to do my best doing it. And you're training them every day. So at the end of your homeschool day, you're not weary. They are doing their best. They are paying attention. They are being obedient. Guys, it pays off amazingly. And there was something that we just added to your homeschool. Not every day, just twice a week for like 10, 15 minutes. Seriously, made a huge difference. So you love that she incorporates nature and poetry and music and all things beautiful. I love that too, Emily. I love it. To see beauty in the ordinary things, to watch the insects and see how God's creation is just so amazing, and watch the flowers. My kids, like, we're not the kind of homeschoolers that go out and sketch animals and plants. I wish we were, or collected, rocks and, I don't know, seeds. We're not that kind, but when we go out, we surely appreciate observing all of those things and talking about it. And my kids love it. They just love it. Anyway, so the Charlotte Mason Companion is a huge, it's an awesome resource and a huge blessing. So the other one that goes with, for the children's sake in the Charlotte Mason Companion is this book here, When Children Love to Learn. Your main goal as a homeschool mom is to help your children be independent learners and to love to learn. If you accomplish those 2 things, okay, if you raise independent learners and if you raise children who love to learn, they will succeed in every aspect of their lives. They will be the best employees or the best CEOs of companies. They will thrive in every university or college or anything that they will attend in their lives, because you are teaching them to learn for themselves, to be curious, to enjoy learning, to think that, to have this great thirst and hunger for knowledge and understanding of things. And this is your main goal as a homeschool mom. If you accomplish that, everything else is just going to follow. Everything else is going to follow, right? So that's actually, it's just so exciting. Everything, I love, the curriculum that we use. One of their mottos is, it's love to learn, and we have a sticker on the back of our van, that says that we love to learn, but this is the whole goal. Because if you're trying, yes, they will take ownership on their work as well. Absolutely. Because if you're doing all of those things and your kids hate to learn, they hate to learn, they don't know how to research or learn anything on their own, then they're completely dependent on you. They're going to be miserable. You're going to be miserable. You're not setting them up for success. So part of building a strong foundation to your children is to invest in yourself, that you can grow, that you can learn, that you will have the tools and the resources and the abilities to teach your kids to love to learn and to be independent learners, to be lifelong learners. That is huge, guys. Honestly, if we get this done, woohoo! That would be our best accomplishment in life, raising an adult who is more than you prayed and asked for, more than you envision in your hard years of just pouring everything out into homeschooling them and to educating them as a whole person. And that you're still watching them devouring books and learning and just succeeding in everything that they do in line and passing what they know, to other people as well, with enthusiasm, with love, with passion. I want to share something that I shared this another day. I think it was on the weekend. I think it was on Friday night when we had the mom's night in. But I learned this statistic, okay? This is a fact. A CEO of a company reads on average 5 books a month. On average, okay? I know people who read a lot more than 5 books a month. 5 books a month. While his employees, on average, read only 1 book a year. So think about the doors and windows of possibility that your children will have in life if you teach them today to love to learn, to be good readers, to love, just be voracious readers, okay, and independent learners. Think about the possibility. Think about, I know, Jessica, it just blows away. What's the difference? Because you think about it, what is the difference? Because nowadays to have a college degree is just not enough. You need to have a college degree, you need to have an MBA, you need to have experience, you have to have all of those things. But the main difference between somebody who's leading a company and somebody who's working for them is the knowledge in their heads and how much they invest in themselves in learning. They are constantly learning something new. So moms, we should be doing the same thing. We should have a goal of reading more books about homeschooling, reading more books about motherhood, reading more books about businesses, because most of us here, or some of us here, are also building business from home. So we could be home and educate our children and also help financially. Think about. So it is very, very important. The other thing that I want to say to you, I'm going to share this, and it's part of the next thing I'm going to ask you guys to do, okay? This is another fact, another statistic that I read long ago. I think I read from Zig Ziglar, and I have read this from a lot of really well-known people, successful people. You are a product of the 5 people that you spend most time with. Your children will be and are a product of the 5 people that they spend more time with, okay? Think about it. Think about it. If they are in the public system, who are the 5 people that they are spending time with? Do you know them? Do you know their parents? Do you know what they believe? Do you know what they're interested in? Do you know if they're good persons? But when you're homeschooling, you have the power to not only be the example and the role model in your children's life, or but also you have the ability, not even the power, the ability and the blessing and the opportunity to also know their friends and their friends' parents, and who they spend time with. And my mom always said, if you want to be something, if you want to be like somebody, spend time reading biographies about that person or watching videos about that person. Like if just like, for example, I have a mentor who took me under her wings, and I absolutely love her, and I so look up to her for so many things in my life. And everybody, her name is Rosemary, and everybody keeps saying I'm a mini Rosemary. Because I end up becoming a lot like her. She is an Old Testament teacher and a Hebrew teacher. I became a Hebrew teacher. She lived in Israel for many years, and she still goes back and forth to Israel. I lived in Israel too because of her. I went to Bible college in Israel. She developed courses and workshops and seminars on the subject of Israel and Hebrew, and the Hebrew language and Jewish culture. And so did I, because and with her as well. So think about the power of home educating your children as a whole person, when you also think about your children's companions, your children's examples, your children's role models, your children's influences. That's huge, right? And you want to be the best influencer in your children's life. You and your, whoever is parenting with you, either is the grandparents or the husband, or, whoever is parenting your children with you. That I just, I believe that we have that power to be the best influencers in their lives. That they will be like amazing people when they grow up, right? Because we are working hard for that. We are taking the plunge. We are sweating blood. We're loving above and beyond all that we ever thought we could love or have patience in this life to accomplish those goals. So this is all part of your goals, okay? All right, so part of this, find 3 quotes or Bible verses, if you're a Christian, 3 quotes or Bible verses that inspire you to accomplish your homeschool goals. Write them down. You can find more than 3. I'm sure you can find, but find 3 that most specifically will help you to accomplish that goal. It's like for me, for Ryan and I, we decided on a scripture in Luke that says that Jesus grew up in stature and in knowledge and in favor with God and men. So we want our children to grow up like this, that they will grow up in stature, not just physically, but also in knowledge, but also in favor with God and men. We want them to be people who will be loved and respected and valued by other people, that people will look up to, that there will be good examples to other people, So find 3 quotes and or Bible verses that will inspire you to accomplish your homeschool goals. And your biggest homework for tonight is to write down your homeschool mission statement. Okay? Write down, come up with your own homeschool mission statement. Have it written down, and I want you guys, after you finish and you polish it and you edit and you're okay, this is it. This is my homeschool mission statement. It got my goals there, got my whys there, Then I want you to put it in a place where you can see it, that you can constantly look back to, that will give you the strength, that give you the inspiration, that give you everything you're going to need to continue to homeschool your kids and to make of this the best homeschool journey and, you know, to make this the best years of your life, that you're going to look back to it and you're going to have so many memories built, that you're going to have so much to be proud of, that you're going to be just so glad that you endured, that you did it. So this is how you build a strong foundation in your homeschool, knowing those things. All right, you guys, if you have any questions for me, I'm here for you. I know this is being exactly an hour now. So go ahead and shoot me like any comments, any messages. You're welcome to do this later on too. I know not everybody could watch the whole thing. But one of the beauties of doing this life coaching course is that you're going to be able to come back and watch it again. And you know, Natalie was saying how she had to go and deal with something that was happening, and then she came back, and you know what? We have kids around. Actually, my husband took my kids out now, so I could do this. But we have kids around. Life happens. We got dinner going. We got all kinds of things going, or you got bedtime going. I don't know your time zone, but you know, there will be distractions along the way. But you can come back and you can watch it. And if sometimes, you're very welcome, Jessica. Very, very welcome. But even if you're just cooking or cleaning or taking a bath or something, you can listen to it again, you know, and go back to those points. But I think you're welcome, Jessica and Jessica. Jessica, this, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Kangai? Is that how you say it? Kangai? And Jessica Anderson. So listen to it again, or watch it again. Really meditate on those things. Write them down. If you want something to happen, you need to write them down. Okay, don't just think about it because you're gonna forget. But put it on paper. It makes a big difference. And I'm gonna see you guys tomorrow at 5 o'clock Pacific time, 8 o'clock Eastern time. If you're on Central time, it's 7 o'clock. And it's Zimbabwean. Really, Jessica? Well, my in-laws are from Zambia and Zimbabwe. My husband is from South Africa. I am originally from Brazil, and my in-laws are from Zambia and Zimbabwe. My parents are American, so it's just a crazy family. And I have 2 Israeli kids and 1 Canadian. So call us United Nations in a good way. We're from everywhere too. All right, you guys. So I'll see you guys tomorrow, and meditate on all of those things that we talked about. It. Put it down on paper. Tomorrow we have so much to talk about it. My goodness. Let me just, So tomorrow we are talking about getting to know your homeschoolers and their teacher. We're going to talk about identifying your homeschool struggles. How many of those homeschool struggles are actually your own struggles or your kids' struggles, okay? Or are third-party influenced. So we're going to talk about those things tomorrow. We're going to talk about identifying your kids' learning styles, and we're going to talk about also identifying your kids' love languages. And I'm going to explain to you how those 2 things come together, and how this is going to help you actually to pick your curriculum, to create your routine, to organize things around your homeschool space. It's huge. Okay? So we need to know those things before. So we're going to be chatting about those things. Then on day 3, we're going to talk about curriculum and finances. We're going to talk about homeschool approaches. We're going to talk about how to choose the right curriculum for your family. And I have a really cool acronym for family that's going to help you to understand what curriculum will be best for you. And we're going to talk about how to homeschool successful in a tiny budget, because finances is like, it's a huge struggle for most of us. Finances gets on the way. How can I give my child the best education when I am just, you know, counting the pennies and just trying to do my best with like very little every month or every year? So we're going to talk about that as well. Then on day 4, it's going to be all about time management, because this is a huge struggle for almost all of us. I'll say about 90% of the homeschool moms that I talk to have a real issue balancing homeschooling and life. balancing family and homeschooling and building a business and balancing everything. Time management is huge. We live in a very, very busy world where everybody's just struggling and everybody's overwhelmed and everybody is exhausted. So we're going to talk about that. With that, we're going to create a perfect routine for your family. A homeschool routine that will actually work for you and not against you. And we're gonna talk about teaching your kids to be independent learners, practical ways to help your kids be independent and responsible learners. We're gonna talk about how to outsource your homeschool so other people can help your children learn too. And they can even help each other. So we're going to talk about all of those great things. And then on day 5, it's going to be all about organization. So once you kind of hit all the foundations that we need to build up your homeschool the right way, and we got our curriculum based in each child's learning style and how they process things and how they absorb things and all of those things. And we are going to then talk about how to organize your curriculum, your homeschool space, how to organize your books, how to organize your digital resources. It's going to be like all about organization. So by the time that we finish on Friday, you guys, like, it's going to be a brand new homeschool season. Isn't that exciting? Brand new homeschool season. And I'm going to be organizing stuff with you guys too, because we just moved and I have a lot to still organize here. So it's going to be like, I'm going to be right there with you guys. Okay? I love you guys. Thank you so much for joining and enrolling in this course. And just shoot me your messages. Shoot me your questions. I'm here for you. We're going to do this together. It's going to be the 5 days to your best homeschooling years. Once you learn all of those things, honestly, it's going to change for better. And your ride is going to be so much smoother and joyful. I love you guys. I see you guys tomorrow night. Bye. Good night.